Well, hello, and we are live. We're live here and direct in Warsaw. I'm joined by none other than the mysterious Mr. Silk. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. And
Good stuff.
Yeah,
So, anybody who's watching this, guys, as you come in, just let us know about the volume, because we're doing this. Obviously, we're doing this remotely. We're in Warsaw. We're in a hotel at the moment. So let us know if the volume's okay. Hopefully the picture's okay. The picture's looking good from our end, but let us know. And as well, and welcome obviously to anybody watching this live, but also anybody who watches this later on the replay. We're on my channel, Troy Francis, we're on James Tusk's channel, and we're on my Twitter as well. Anybody who has any questions, put them into the chat and we will get around to answering them through this stream. Now, basically what this is, we're in Warsaw. We're teaching some guys the art of social approach, basically. We're here teaching a group of guys how to go and approach women that they find attractive, have conversations with them, and hopefully make something happen as a result. Now, I'm obviously, guys, my channel and probably Tusk's channel will know who I am. And many of you will know Mr. Silk, but not everybody. So, Mr. Silk, did you want to just introduce yourself and tell the guys a bit about, your expertise and what your role here is?
okay, so what I have been doing for a couple of years ago, basically 7 years ago, is to go into the field of communication and what communication can actually impact people in general, specifically when it comes to conversations, day-by-day conversations with other people. And what I discovered based on my academic year in the field of communication is that there is a lot of really valuable theory that has been applied practically in the field of businesses, corporations. We're talking about sales, we're talking about psychotherapists, we're talking about the area of law, politicians. And what I have been doing is I have taken one of the best ideas from the communication theory and make it practical in the dating scene as well. And that is what we are working with right now. And we can definitely see how much our students are craving for that kind of knowledge. In order to do things in a right way, in an optimal way, basically.
Because you've been involved in this. Well, you've known about the dating scene, the dating advice scene, let's say the game advice scene for quite a long time. You've been involved with this stuff, so you've been aware of it, and you've benefited from it. But you're also quite aware of a lot of the flaws in it, like the holes in it. And what you're teaching is I think is very new in this space, really. And it's basically what it comes down to, guys, is okay, you meet an attractive girl, you see her across the bar or in the Starbucks or whatever, and you think, God, I really want to go talk to that girl. And the big problem that everybody has is, what do I say to her? And even if you pluck up the courage and you're like, oh, I just saw you, you look really pretty, I had to come and say hello. What do you say then? How do you carry on that conversation? Now, there have been various answers to that have been provided in the men's self-help community. I mean, there was the mystery method, and then there was a sort of a evolution of that with the London day game model for people who were interested in, meeting girls during the daytime. But both of those things are not very authentic. And what you've been saying to me is actually a problem with those models, as good as they are, is that many guys can sort of trip up on them, can't they? Or just definitely not really be able to sort of rise, sort of do it very well, and they end up almost harming themselves more.
Definitely, because we are human beings that want to be authentic. We don't want to have some kind of an instrumental language when we talk to other people. What I mean with instrumental language is like we are having routines, or we're having a lot of content that we have to remember to say things in exact manner. We don't want to be that kind of person. We want to be ourselves, and we also want to present ourselves as we are. And I used to say, like, we want to present the best version of ourselves. However, in terms of communication, we actually need to see a little bit about what our goal is in terms of conversation, and specifically when it comes to women. And what we can actually look at in that point is like what kind of chemical reaction in the brain are happening when we are communicating with people. You see, so when we look at conversation in general, what in the conversation is actually spiking three signal substances in the brain: dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. Chemical reactions that actually leads to the feeling of attraction and love. So,
Right.
how to trigger that one?
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that by pinpointing of what is it that actually triggered this kind of chemical reaction in the brain within a conversation.
Yes. So you've studied this on almost a neuroscientific level, haven't you? That's the kind of
Behavioralism.
Behavioralism. Those are the studies you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's the scientific research that you're bringing
Definitely.
into this. And what you're saying is that actually, by having the right kind of conversations, by saying the right things and triggering the right responses in her, you can get her to feel, well, you've described it as almost as good as sex.
Oh, it's like I'm just referring to a quite new study made by Harvard University, basically Harvard Medical School, where they saw that when we are communicating with another person in a certain way, that person have an experience that are very similar to having sex, basically.
Okay.
Or that person having the dinner of their life, like a really, really nice dinner, or they're going to explore something they always dreamed of. That kind of response,
that powerful, and just
in the
that
brain is the same.
just that through having what you're saying, like having the conversation,
having the right type of conversation.
Yeah.
And
this is really powerful, guys, because when you think about it, like what we want to do, we walk up to the girl that we fancy, we walk up to that woman we're attracted to, we want her to feel something, don't we? We want it to mean something. We want to cut through the BS, really. And the problem with a lot of I was saying to you earlier, I mean, a lot of the day game stuff, we use similar kinds of, not that it's canned or scripted lines, but people end up saying similar things because they've heard it on a video or they've read it in a book or an ebook or something. They end up saying the same sort of things, but it lacks authenticity, it lacks meaning. So having these conversations with these women, and they're saying these things because they think, oh, I saw that in a video, that's going to create this response in her, and it falls flat. But what you're talking about is actually a lot more stripped back and a lot more natural and authentic.
Absolutely.
But actually getting to know her on a deeper level, and through that, triggering this response in her, she's going to associate you with those powerful feelings and then want to see you come on a date, etc.
Absolutely, because when we are looking at what is important in terms of communication and a conversation, people are mostly first focusing about what to say and how to say things.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the most important thing within a communication or within a conversation is actually listening. That is like the most important thing. So listening skills is actually that skill that you need to have in order to have a really good conversation with anyone, and specifically women. So that is what the power is.
Okay. So what about this? And we talked about this before, but there's a school of thought within the dating coach, community.
Yep.
You don't want to validate her too much too early. You don't want to seem like, oh my God, I'm hanging on to her every word. Because if you do that, it seems like you're sort of losing value in a way because you're putting too much importance onto her. And there's this idea of being arrogant and a bit aloof and everything else. But what you're saying seems to go totally against that. Would you say that that's the wrong way to think about it?
Because sometimes, when we look at the techniques that we used before, it's like taking things from the thin air.
Well, because you know what I'm talking about. You know the idea. Oh, you walk in the bar, I'm going to be like the super cocky guy. I just feel like, I don't really care. Blah blah blah. And so look at me, that kind of thing. And she's going to be attracted to that because this guy doesn't seem to need anybody, right? It's that sort of thing. Whereas what you're talking about actually is a lot more empathetic. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, what I'm now telling you when it comes to like these reactions in the brain that actually leads to her feeling attracted, leads to her feeling excited. It's actually based on a lot of scientific data, and we have seen what is it that actually trigger those kind of chemical reactions in the brain, and that is not what she sees viscerally. Like okay, so I'm this cocky alpha male guy, and just making her see that going to make her feel something. There is nothing that says that she will feel something within it. However, what I do believe that it might create some kind of an interest or some kind of curiosity within her. But that is not the same thing as her feeling attracted to something.
So it's not enough. It might be good as an opener. Or it might be good like the guy walks in the bar, he's like super confident, he's super cocky, he's got that vibe about him, that edge, if you like. So sign up below, guys. But in itself, but there needs to be more than that, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
I must say that it has its place.
yeah,
It does, and it's also, like, brings value to the table. But the fundamental part for the whole process, when you are going to go from A to B with a girl, is the conversation itself. Because I mean, everything that we are learning to do in terms of the masculinity of yourself, being the leader of man, and all those kind of attraction triggers, we're still going to get into this normal day-by-day conversation. And that day-by-day conversation with the girl will probably be like 80% of the whole thing in the end.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, because guys think you can't rely on just the image that you put across. You can't rely on just like, oh, I've got pictures of me in front of a Lambo on Instagram or something like that. Because at some point, even if you meet her on Instagram, you meet her on Tinder, you meet on, whatever, seeking arrangements, whatever platform it is, doesn't matter. At some point, you're going to have to sit down and have a conversation.
Absolutely, and that is what actually makes it. You see, that's what actually makes it. So I would actually say that having a right type of conversational skills is actually the fundamental thing that you need to have, and everything else will come as a spice to on the top of the fundamental thing. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because the conversation you have with the girl, asking the right questions, seek clarification for certain things that she's talking about, trying to find out how she actually works from within. Not only focusing about what she's doing, but why she's doing things, why she's taking part of different decisions in her life, or why she's liking certain things. Just focusing about the why is so powerful, it's so important that it must be like, from my point of view, it's like this is the fundamental. And everything else you can bring to the table, like, oh, I want to be funny, I want to be playful, I want to be sexual, comes as a spice on the fundamental.
Right.
But we cannot work on a lot of different kind of things without the fundamental. It's like it's just two big pieces missing.
Yes.
In the whole thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said to you before, this is why a year or so ago I did my own course called Dating Conversation Success, and the reason for that was because I recognised that there was this huge gap in terms of, the problem remains. In fact, in a sense, maybe the problem is even worse now, because at least years ago, I mean, okay, we all don't like the idea of scripted. I'm going to learn this story, I'm going to learn these lines and say that. But at least it was something. At least it gave the guy something to say. Now, we've got into this evolution of game is a lot more natural now. It's a bit like, no, bro, just go in, be confident, be alpha, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, natural game.
Now we're back to the same problem again, which is, okay, great, but what do I actually say? And guys don't know. And the London Day Game model was a sort of attempted to deal with that, because it gave you a structure. It said, right, make observations about her, and then when you've made the observation, wait for her to come back with something that clarifies, and then you can vibe on that thing. So she says, I'm from Barcelona, and we go, oh, right, so you're from Barcelona. That I went out in Barcelona one night, and it was crazy, and blah, 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 and you tell a story. And that's fine, but the difficulty with that is it requires quite a lot of improvisational skill and rhetorical skill. And some guys, with the best will in the world, they just don't really have that. Particularly the guys who are a bit more shy or introverted, or they're not very practiced in this stuff.
Absolutely. And we both saw it sometimes that people have something hard to pull it off authentically. It's like sometimes like, if you can really pull it off, and you tell them, just go ahead and do it. But some people have hard time to pull it off.
Well, I suppose the response to that previously would have been, well, you've just got to man up and get better at it, bro, type thing.
Yeah.
But is that really realistic in the case of, because I mean, we know clients, we won't mention any names, but we know clients that you've worked with.
Yeah.
And you said actually they just weren't really very well attuned to that. But now they're using your method, which is a bit different, and it's just comes to much more natural.
Definitely.
So,
and then they can also identify that kind of methodology with themselves, like with their authentic self. They don't have to do something in order to like achieve something that, like they don't have to be like someone they're not. They can really be someone they really want to be. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So with my method, or the methodology of the conversation skills that I'm teaching, is actually making people better people.
Right.
Making men better men. Because
exactly, guys.
Yeah. So what I can say a little bit, like, all of us have been living like in this really shallow, surface-based lives since we were born, basically. And this is something new because we are actually going in the depth of conversation in the way that no one else are doing, except for really professional fields.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the kind of stuff that you're now bringing to the party, put them in the chat. Any questions, guys? Put them in the chat about conversation, but also just about any other elements of, dating, game. We're in Warsaw at the moment, so if you've got any questions about that, or Mr. Silk actually lives in Poland, so if you've got any questions about living in Poland, the dating scene here, he's the man to ask. So put them into the chat. Guys don't know what to talk about because everyone thinks it's no big deal, but you can turn off without realizing it just by being yourself. Okay. Yeah. Any response to that?
Absolutely. Because just being yourself, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
Because being yourself doesn't really clarify what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. I mean, if you are yourself and you're actually communicating in a way that is fundamental wrong, then you can't be yourself in that manner. It's almost like, for example, one of the things like in our brain is more like if we feel pressure in a conversation where we just got the feeling of not knowing what to say, we are actually going into automatic mode. And the automatic mode is to ask just a bunch of lots of surface-based questions. One after one, because people are just scared about awkward silences, you see? And that is actually being yourself for the majority of people in general.
You're right.
Like an automatic response,
But you're only asking the questions as well because you feel like you've got to fill the airspace with something. I mean, what is being yourself? I mean, being myself, it's probably sitting around watching some crap program on TV and having a cup of tea. I mean, but that in itself is not going to be attractive to anybody. That's not enough, is it?
No.
For the hot girl at the Miami pool party. So we need something else.
Absolutely.
We need a framework. But the other side of this is that just be yourself. Myself might be, well, I just want to lay on the couch and watch crap on YouTube and that's it.
Yeah. That's
sort of myself. But another part of myself is actually, I'm attracted to these women. I want to bring them into my life. But I also want to find out about them. Right? If I'm, and this is we talked about this last night. Like for myself personally, I think if she's attractive and I want to have some sort of interaction with her, yes, of course I want to have sex. I want to become intimate with her. But also equally, I want to find out about her. Like, and I don't divide those two things. But it seems some guys just don't seem that interested in women they're dating. Really, it's just like, what do I do on a date? Because she's probably going to be really boring and just talk about TikTok. Stuff like that, and I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're like in deep water when you start having that kind of mindset. So the trick actually is like when you are interacting with people in general, people are not really, schooled to listen very well, but they're really schooled to talk about the self in a certain way. Yes.
Yeah.
But what they're not schooled, and what they are not programmed to, is actually to speak about why. Questions like why are they doing things they're doing, and when people are actually talking about not only what they're doing but why they're doing things, something magically happens in their brains.
Because you've phrased it as it's about her relationship to the subject.
Yes.
So she says, yes, I'm a hairdresser, or I do people's nails. Okay, so you do people's nails, that's a fact. But why do you do people's nails? What is it about?
What is the story between the nails and you? So if she's like, I'm working with nails and I like to paint nails and this is my passion. Okay, so what is the story between you doing nails and you as a person?
Yes.
Then suddenly you can find out a little bit like, what is the reason why she went into the manicure business for the first place? Probably that she's quite artistic. She's quite aesthetic person. Okay, she's like she have an aesthetic mindset. You can find out things that actually matters for her.
Yeah.
Not only like, okay, so that's cool. You're working as a manicurist. That's nice. Period. And then like, oh, by the way, how many customers do you have today? I mean, this is like
disjointed.
Not talking about her relationship to the subject. It's more like talking about the subject, and that is two different things.
Yeah, but okay. So, but to repeat a similar question to what I asked earlier. So then she comes and she says, so you say, okay, so you're a nail manicurist. why is that? And she says, well, I was always really artistic at school. Like I used to draw and paint, and then I found that doing this, I could be artistic in a job. So then where do you go with it?
So most of the time it's very, very important to actually relate back a little bit of what you actually think about it as well. So, so what I saw you, since if you want to pretend that you were the girl, I would definitely relate to make it like, okay, so if I understand you, you actually became a manicurist because you feel like you have this artistic ability, but you also want to make it practically in your day-by-day life. And being a manicurist makes you that person. You can support yourself, you can actually have some kind of ambition, and you can help people, and you can use your artistic ability because you like to paint, and nails is such a big thing for men and women today. So that is why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
So you like sort of relating and acknowledge what she actually said to you.
Yes. Now you have, really emphasised that. This idea of effectively repeating back to her what she's saying.
Reflective,
like reflecting back to her what she's saying.
Yeah.
And showing that you understand. And you always said this is why do you think that's so powerful? Is it because they feel, to use the modern terminology, they feel heard? Like she feels understood.
Yeah, but the fun thing is that the tools that we are using, and it's the same tools that what top negotiation persons are using as well, and also in the business industry, psychotherapy, all of this is because just because a girl told you something doesn't necessarily means that she got the impression that you understand what you meant. You see, so we have to enforce that to make her really understand that you understand what you meant.
Okay.
And we have to do it in a way that is natural. Because if we are going to use, different kind of methods, different kind of tools that we are using, it should not come up as a gimmick. It's like it is natural for her while doing this repetition thing.
Yeah.
For example, and it's also good for you in order to clarify things.
To really understand.
Exactly.
And it's like I was saying earlier, the purpose of doing this, because guys might be saying, yeah, but why am I going to do this? I'm the girl in the club, and whatever. But ultimately, the thinking should be, look, I come to speak to you because there's something about you. There's something, I find something attractive about you. And off the back of that, I want to find out about you. So you're saying you do nails for this reason. Let's just clarify that. So it's because you're artistic, but you're helping people at the same time. You're reflecting back to her because you really want to know about it.
Yeah, and then you're also relating back a little bit. I can definitely see that because you're artistic, you're aesthetic minded, and now you can feel like you can do something practically about it by opening your own manicure business. So I can definitely see how all of it brings a lot of value to you. You're doing what you're doing what you are passionate about, and still can make it practical. And I like that. I really like that about you. I find that. And then you can, because when you are using reflective listening, and then you put playfulness, you can put even sexual spikes or whatever spikes they're fitting into that category. You're doing it in the line of reflective listening.
Yeah.
So because I see so many guys trying to be sexual, trying to be playful out of thin air. It's not based on anything. But they heard a little bit okay, I can observe a little bit and I can make some playful or sexual remarks. But they are quite, how can I say it, it's quite shallow and empty. But if she said something about her passions, she said something about the reason why she's doing what she's doing, and then you being playful based on what she's replying to you.
Yes.
Based on her answers, you reflect what she said and being playful and sexy based on that. Now you have actually meat on the legs, being playful, being sexual, and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, we've got some questions here, but just before that, he says you have to be careful not to enter interview mode, which absolutely we acknowledge.
Absolutely, and that was fun because there's a lot of people ask me a little bit about the interview mode, and then one of the top communication experts, and me included, are saying a little bit like the interview mode often comes when you're asking questions in the surface-based question, because when you're asking questions in that is surface-based questions, you will automatically ticking off boxes. So it's like, for example, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a manicurist. Okay, that's good. That's nice. And where do you live? Already there you feel a little bit okay. You're ticking off boxes. So
you're not thing to another without really Yeah, it's very
Without-
surface. It's biographical stuff.
Exactly.
It's surface level.
So it's like you just having a conversation based on transactional information.
Yeah.
We don't want conversation based on transactional information like an interview-based style. So what we want to do is we want to have a conversation based on connection. And
Yeah.
the connection is when you're getting curious about something.
So-
I'm a manicurist, okay, but what is the story between you and being a manicurist?
Yeah. So what
That
would
is
you-
not the interview moment.
So what would
Yeah.
you say? So just to very simply break it down for guys. So they see the cute girl in Starbucks.
Yeah.
They go up to her. You mentioned earlier the framework of inquiry.
Yeah, it's like
Reflect. So how do they start off? Because there are some guys, when we presented this before, some guys have said, well, hang on a minute, so I just go up to the girl in the street and just start asking a lot of questions. How's that going to work? But so how would you say? So you go up to the guy and say, hey, listen, I just saw you. You look really pretty. I had to come over and say hello. Then you might say, so are you from Warsaw?
Yeah.
So you might kick off with a question, but you're explain what
yeah.
happens.
So what I try to do now with my students here, for sure, is to get into the mode of actually want to show her that you have that real curiosity about her. Because
Okay,
curiosity creates a certain spike. Also,
And you don't think, because guys might be like, well, hang on a minute, she's some random girl. If I show too much curiosity about her, is that going to almost make her big-headed? It's like, oh, this guy's a simp. He's just so interested in me off the bat.
yeah, but the thing is that it depends on what kind of interest you are showing.
Mm.
You see what I mean? Yeah. Because what we did now for this bootcamp, for example, is like we had to stop them from asking more questions on the superficial basis, on the surface level.
Yeah.
Because they want to ask question after question after question. We have to make them. You know what? You cannot ask more questions. That is not relative to the subject. You see what I mean? Yes.
Yes.
So what did we do now? Yeah, we actually asked them not only what they were doing or what they think about something. It's like, why are you thinking what you're thinking? You see what I mean? Yes. So, for example, like what the example I give to our students is like, we just going to do the more or less like the direct opening, and that would be like, excuse me, I know this is spontaneous, but I think you look really nice, and I want to say hi.
Yeah.
I'm Michael. What is your name? Let's say your name is Vanessa, and then I say, okay, Vanessa, are you from here?
Yeah, I'm from here. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice. Because I have been here now for 2 or 3 days. For 2 days now, and I think Warsaw is a beautiful city. I mean, I like the buildings, I like the old town, I like the restaurants, I just like the vibe of this city. But Vanessa, I'm curious, what do you think about Warsaw?
Okay.
And now we get into the first layer of under the surface, just the first layer. But whatever she said about Warsaw, for example, like, oh, I think Warsaw is beautiful, inside the city is we can do a lot of activities in that city. Bam! Now you have to use something what I used to call, finding cues, finding keywords. Okay, so she said it's beautiful, it's exciting, and she likes a lot of activities. Yes.
Yes.
So now we are going to only use those keywords to elaborate and continue on with the conversation.
So what kind of activities do you like? Eh?
No, but for example, like you told me a little bit about you like a lot of activities in town.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? I don't
Yeah.
know what you mean with a lot of activities. Can you help me to understand that one better? And don't say it's like maybe that's naughty stuff as well. You can be playful with this one. Or you can actually also elaborate like, okay, so you told me that you find Warsaw really beautiful, but what does that mean?
Yes.
What does it mean for you? So what is beautiful actually? Can you elaborate? You see what I mean? Yeah. So when we go and seek clarification on things that she, in the beginning, assume that people just pass on, you will not do it because you want to seek clarification what she actually means for your inner core. What is actually beautiful for you? What is actually exciting for you? You're saying a lot of activities, but can you elaborate about what you mean there? Once you get into those topics and the girls start talking about those things, we can just see how things spikes to
But
the
do you
roof
ever-
when
do
it
you
comes to the reaction to
Do
the
you,
rate.
do you ever find that a girl could just shut it down? Like she might just go, oh, well, I don't know, or or that kind of thing. We've seen that, haven't we? What do you do?
We have. I've seen girls shutting down. I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
but it happens very rarely to me, from my experience. And those times when it's happened, I find out a little bit like maybe she wasn't interested to start with. She was not a girl that was available to start with.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
because what I'm telling our students now is like we have to, categorize girls. Like we have those that are available and those that are not available. Why they are not available can be a variety of reasons. And at times I feel like maybe it's not necessarily to actually find out the purpose of, find out the reason why they're not available. But it can be anything. They have a boyfriend already, they're married, they're pregnant or whatever.
Yeah.
You see? So, so some girls, they stop, they're not available, but they stop you out of politeness, yes? And it doesn't matter what you're saying to them. If they're not available, they're not available.
Yeah.
But when it comes into the girl, and when it comes to girls that actually are available, now we see something happen. But
because it's like nothing that you do is ever going to be 100%. There's not going to be some magical thing that you can say that every single woman on the planet is going to be.
Of course. We are optimizing the strategy for girls that are available.
Yes,
that's the key point.
Yes, okay. Or at least there's a modicum, even if they're not wildly attracted to you. There's like a modicum of like kind of interest there or openness to the conversation. So I think we've got a few questions here. So the first one, what topics in the small talk you guys talk about in a woman in a nightclub without coming across as being boring or creepy?
Okay, so the thing is that like first we have to identify what is small talk actually. Small talk is often when you're asking, both closed-ended question and open-ended questions that require very short answers. That is like transactional information. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I use in order to, like, as you said here, like in a nightclub without coming across as boring and creepy, one of the best techniques you can use is to make her tell you about what she thinks about things. So for example, like if you go into a girl in a nightclub and then suddenly you want to have a two-way interaction with that girl, one of the best things you can do is ask for an opinion or something. For example, like, hey, I'm out of curiosity, what do you think about this bar?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's nice, I like the cost environment and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so tell me a little bit more, like, is this your favorite club? Or is this your favorite place? Or do you prefer, do you prefer bar or do you prefer clubs instead? And what makes this place really nice for you? So you're asking her, for opinions about things.
Yeah.
But one important aspect is to also relate and reflect on her answers. Otherwise, it can actually be, in the end, like she feeling like she's doing all the talking. Yeah.
So that's a good point. So talk about the relating side of this a bit, because that's quite important as well.
Yeah, for example, like, so when I ask the girls, like, so I'm out of curiosity, what do you think about this bar? She would say like, oh, I like it because it's calm, it's quiet, but still have a nice background music and they have beautiful, wonderful drinks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I reflect like, yeah, okay, I can definitely see that. I also prefer this kind of environment. I like the drinks here. That drink, my drink here now tastes perfectly, and I also like this environment. But on the other hand, I really enjoy high-end club as well. So how about you? Is this the club that is your favorite one on the weekends, or do you prefer something else?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Yeah. So you always go into like what she thinks about things.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you're asking like, okay, so what? Let's say this. I like high-end club. Can you elaborate a little bit? So how would a perfect club look like for you? So okay. So now she starts thinking about things. So she starts thinking about what is a perfect club for her. What is this? What is that? Her whys. Why does she think it's good? Oh, I like the club downstairs. It's super nice. It's super nice. Okay. I can see that you really like that club, but tell me, what is it that good about it?
Yes.
Tell me what it is with that club that really inspire you to go there, for example. And then she going into this why area again. And as long as she is in this why area, all those spikes in the brain happening. It's miraculous. And then neuroscientists have said this one for years, like when people talk about the self, but only in a certain way,
yes,
the spikes is going through the roof. But if they are going to talk about small talk or superficial things, we don't see those spikes. So we have to make her talk things in the right way. Like she have to talk about the whys, not what she's doing, but why she's doing things.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Yeah, like we want to see clarification about what she likes. We want to see clarification what things that is valuable for her. What is her future plan? How come it's her future plan? Okay, what she's doing now, she actually moved to Warsaw from Lublin, for example. And so when you came to Warsaw, what's that you expected?
Yeah.
And what did you expect? And you're going through those kind of things that make her think about things.
Yeah. No, fair enough. So we've got another question here. Is online dating more time effective than cold approaching? So it's an thorny old issue, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, did you do a lot of online dating?
I did it over, during the COVID time, but we cannot actually use this one as a reference point. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't go anywhere else. So Tinder has a different kind of influence than it has now.
Yeah.
But I would say definitely the cold approaching is a lot more effective.
I think it's I personally, my view is that it's more cold approaching in real life is more effective. Now, whether it's more time effective, because I know what this guy's thinking, because he's probably thinking, well, I could just sit at home and swipe on Tinder instead of going and walking around the mall for 5 hours and talking to random girls. Like, surely that's a big time sink. That my feeling about it is that actually, I mean, having used Tinder myself, I don't use any dating apps at the moment, but having used Tinder and Bumble and a little bit of Hinge in the past, that is also a time sink. Because you can spend quite a lot of time, first sorting out your profile, then doing all the swiping, then doing the messaging and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that people think it's nothing, but that takes up some time.
Yeah.
What we're really doing is we're saying 2 or 3 approaches a day. Once you've got up to speed with this stuff, 2 or 3 approaches a day in the course of your daily life, very targeted to women that you're actually attracted to, that you actually feel some chemistry with in real life. Yeah. Having a decent conversation in the way that you're describing, and making a real sort of real life impact on them. I mean, that to me is a lot more powerful. I think I apologise because I don't have really data to support this, but in my gut feeling is that that's going to be more effective.
Yeah, my gut feeling too.
Because we all know, like, pretty much every single guy that you ever speak to, regardless of whether they're a Chad or whether they're, wherever they're coming from in the sort of whatever hierarchy you want to call, every single guy that I've ever spoken to has said that they get results in real life that they do dating.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. And also, I feel a little bit like you don't know what to expect really when you meet the girl in real life, and that takes a lot of time as well. I know a lot of guys doing a lot of online dating, and when that person decided to meet the girl, like in real life, it was not as what the guy expected. I mean, many times they can just see directly like, oh, this is not the girl for me that I thought she was.
Yes.
Right. I don't mean 1 second after he saw her, he has to feel directly like, oh my god, this is not the girl.
Yeah, because if physically, and it's not even just that you've got catfish and she's super ugly when she turns up or something. I mean, obviously that can happen, but it can be more subtle than that. It's just you see her and you're like, it's just I'm not really kind of feeling it. Whereas in real life, even before you approach, because the reason you approached her is because there's something about her.
Exactly. I mean,
so it's a lot more authentic and genuine.
Absolutely. I mean, men in general, we are men, and we are like visible beings, and then and we can actually say yes or no almost immediately when we see a girl.
I think the other thing is, though, if you think about we talk about the parallels between sales and dating all the time, but if you think about sales, I mean, you're like, it's always going to be preferable to have a face-to-face real life meeting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
With people. Why is that? Because we could just do everything online now, so why aren't we doing that? Well, it's always preferential to go and actually meet the person. I think it's the same in dating. It's much more powerful to go and meet her first in person and to make a real proper impression.
Absolutely, because I mean, also in sales, it's based on connection.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Specifically when it comes to like if you want to make a big deal and this kind of thing, we want to have a connection with the people we do business with, and so connected part is very, very important. And sometimes I feel a little bit like it's hard to get connection based on online things.
Yes.
So you're trying to create a connection while you're seeing the girl, but when you're going to see the girl in real life, so many times it's not what you expected. And I see that as very problematic for both girls and men in general.
Yeah.
There was a very big another psychological study in Norway actually, where they actually could pinpoint like Tinder is only good for people that are already successful with women, and people that are not really successful with women, Tinder didn't bring much of value to them. I'm going to give you the report later. And what does that actually mean? It means more like, in order to be really good with women and have those women that you really want in your life, you actually have to interact with them almost like in real life. It's like you have to go and you have to talk with them either in the bar, in the street, in order to be good in this kind of can say first impression, because even though you're chatting with the girl on Tinder and everything, you still don't have this first impression thing when you want to meet her in real life. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So you cannot get away with that first impression. You see?
Yes.
And you get it right on the bat if you're doing the cold approach.
Yeah.
She will just see who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So Spindley says, any green flags to approach a girl, eye contact and no headphones. So two that initially come to mind. 15 minutes behind and catching up and fast forward. Well, I mean, to be honest, if you like her, and you should try and make an approach, because we've only got one life. If you see somebody you like and you think she's cool and you can bring value to her and maybe she can bring value to you, go and try and make the approach. I mean, if she's wearing headphones, all you have to do is just like, hey, this, 1 second, headphones. And she'll, likely take headphones off and have a conversation with you. So it's not, even that's not a big deal. I wouldn't recommend just waiting for eye contact, because yes, eye contact can be good, but sometimes you'll get eye contact and then you might go and have a conversation and she says, oh, I've got a boyfriend or something anyway. So there's that. And secondly, if you're just relying on eye contact, what about all these women? You see a woman, she doesn't even see you. You're like, oh, I can't possibly approach her because she didn't give me eye contact, but she was your dream woman. I mean, it was ridiculous, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could tell you this one as well. And I can tell you one thing, is like, I have lots of girls showing IOIs, also indicator of interest to me. And I went super direct. I went to them. I made a direct approach, and it showed up like she wasn't that interested, even though she gave me IOIs. Yes, and those girls that was super successful, that I've been super successful with, they didn't show me anything at all. They looked uninterested, I approached them in a surprise manner, and then were like, "Oh my God, this is really nice." So I think a little bit like this eye contact, this immediate IOIs could almost be categorized as myths sometimes.
I think so, because I think it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go, for a start. And secondly, like you say, I mean, I've had whole relationships. I've dated women who I met in an environment and she didn't even see me before, like I went up and started a conversation with her. And if I hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have been together. So for me, it's just not a...
But if I look at all the girls I've been dating doing the day game things, most of them coming not from the eye contact, not coming from her showing IOIs, it's come from like nothing. She was just super surprised that I approached.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, it's on you, man, to go out there and be entrepreneurial.
Absolutely.
In the dating market and make things happen. How to deal with a yes/no girl if you don't know if she's into it or not? Well,
but
I mean, you know, like all you can do in any situation really is put yourself forward. You're going to get a sense fairly quickly of whether she likes you or not. I don't think it's, in the end, she's just going to say, listen, sorry, I've got a boyfriend, she's going to walk off. So I don't think it's going to be a big problem for any huge amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yes and no. It's like, I would say like it's a little bit like unclear about what does it really means, yes or no. However, what I do believe is like to carry the conversation forward in the right manner, and then if you feel it like, oh, she's leaning towards no, she haven't said it directly yet, then you can just use the time force constraint and say like, you know what, I have to be somewhere very soon, but you know what, it would be nice to have a coffee later. What do you say? And then if she says yes, bam. If she says no, there's no. Yes. So just in order to just like not assume yes or no without actually clarify it. Like get the clarification of yes or no, and that one of the best things is like, okay, I cannot do it anymore. I more or less reached my time, so just make an exit. Oh, I have to go somewhere now. And then do you want to have coffee later? And if then you got yes or no.
Yeah, well, and if it's somebody you're going backwards and forwards with on text or something, you've just got to ask her for a date. I mean, it's like, look, next Thursday, let's meet up. I know a cool place, 8:00. How's that? If she prevaricates and says I can't do it, okay, fine. Maybe give one more chance. If she prevaricates again, you're probably dealing with a time waster. Unless if she says, oh, I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday. How about that? That's fine. You're going to know pretty quickly. I mean, you give her a couple of chances, and then it's like, okay, well, look, I'm moving on now because I'm not. This isn't the interaction that I'm looking for. So we've got to finish in a second, but Indy says, friends of mine say there are too many guys approaching in Warsaw these days and making it a lot harder. I mean, people say that. I don't really buy it. For a start, this is a city, there's about 2 million people here. So it's a drop in the ocean. And secondly, look, if you present as high value, she's still going to be interested just because some other bloke approached her 2 hours ago. I mean, like, women get approached a lot, right?
Yeah,
in real life and also online. So it's not like she's short of, even if she lives in Lublin, she's not short of male attention.
No, exactly.
But she's got to, women are sexual beings. They want to meet guys. They want to be in relationships, right? She's going to meet somebody. The important thing is to be working on your value.
Absolutely.
And working on,
on the conversation skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, in the end, it's a little bit like, okay, so how can I be the genuine me, but in the same time be able to spark those chemical reactions in her brain?
Yes.
That can lead to love, attraction, and basically sexual attraction. How to do that?
Exactly.
Yes, we know how to do it now. However, we have to having a meaningful conversation, because we don't want to get into having a conversation just to have a conversation. We want to have a conversation with the direction of creating attraction.
Yes.
And we have to understand and apply what is it that actually creates attraction. What is it that actually spikes those chemical reactions in the brain? What is it? Yes, we know what it is, and we have to apply it practically.
Exactly.
That's the key. Not just having a conversation based on having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the whole thing about dating and dating skills and everything is really you are getting her to make a decision. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm here. I find you attractive. I'm interested in a man-to-woman relationship with you. Are you interested or not? I mean, you're not going to say it that obviously you're not going to say it outright like that, but that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And she's going to indicate yes or no, really, by her behaviour, because you're not hiding behind, I just want to be friends, I just want to help you learn English, I just want to help you learn about the city or something. You're being pretty upfront about what you want, and she's going to tell you either way, because women are, if she's not interested, she's not going to be around that for very long. So it's
but one funny thing, I saw it from the creators from Match.com, for example, and they say the number one thing that actually can spark interest within us is actually one person showing interest to another.
Yes.
But that is different between men and women, because when we see a beautiful girl, we are interested in her almost immediately based on her appearance. Women don't see the same way, because if we look at the women and see wow, this girl is really pretty, really cute, and then she have really nice body, I'm interested in her. And if we go and talk with her I think you look really nice, I wanted to know you and everything, that is not showing interest from her perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah, because that is quite surface based, because we are surface based. We can just look at the girl and we're interested, but how to make her feel like you are interested in her in a genuine way is to find out about her in the real way that sparks those things. It's not on the surface thing. So when we ask her a little bit, okay, so you really enjoy the city, but what is it with the city that you really like? Now I want to find out what is it that she actually likes, and that can be pursued as that guy is really interested in me.
Yeah.
And the interest many times spark the interest back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So look, guys, we're going to have to go because we've got another session here in the great city of Warsaw to go to now. But we may well do another one of these. We're here for another couple of days, so we may well do another one of these. If you guys are up for that, put a comment in the comments box below. Give us a like. Obviously, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Tusker's channel. If people watching this are interested in working with you, Mr. Silk, they need to get in touch with either myself or James Tusk, basically. So you can email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can email Tusk, info@jamestusk.com, and just put Mr. Silk in the subject line or conversation skills or whatever, and we can arrange something so that you can do a consultation or do some work with Mr. Silk on this stuff, because it is incredibly powerful, and this is something we're now teaching to all of our students.
Absolutely.
And we believe, by the way, our course The Edge is open now as well. It's open until Sunday. You'll see the link for that below. So if you, I would advise you, if you want to learn about the bad boy stuff, the dark triad stuff, bringing edge to these sort of interactions, not being a boring beige, buffoon, which she's going to pass over, but somebody who's kind of interesting and sexy and exciting while you're doing this, get onto the edge. You've got another day or so to get into that. But in conjunction with that, we are very much now behind what Mr. Silk is teaching. So get in touch with us if you want to brush up your conversation skills, and if having a structure and a framework to do that is of interest to you, and it really should be, because this, as you say, is the key, is the absolute key.
Yeah. To have
really
a true, meaningful conversation that leads somewhere.
Exactly.
Not always think leading, but actually leading somewhere. That's
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, guys, with that, we will leave you for now. But as I say, we may do another one of these in the next day or so. And stay tuned. See you very soon. Bye bye.